So this is actually an image that I've shown you before. I've put in a comparison side by side, drawing red lines in for you. I didn't explain it correctly. I didn't have the comparison. Now the red lines are showing that this is a collapsed building. Everything's underground, but you can see where the upper beams are. You see the square beams, like when archaeologists will excavate an entire area where they think that there's a ancient structure, you know, the perfect square side by side. I've made videos showing, full videos of showing you sites where they were 100% collapsed buildings, either the upper floors or the roofs. These are how we construct just about everything today for movement, save on materials. So it's got some plane, it won't just crack and fall down, and then you will smear it in something or layer it over, you know, with plastic, boarding, whatever you like. So this is pre-Roman, what they call Etruscan, and we can see that this is calcification, solidification of what I've just been showing you, how we build things in modern times. Whether that was done from the flood or the ash, I'm not quite sure, but it is absolutely one of the best discoveries that I have ever made on this channel. And I can never stop speaking enough on it, because that's how right I know that I am on this. This one here, the one on the left, is built the same, but the one on the right is just literally built with what I call saturated petrified wood today. And it's just beams of wood just placed over each other, right? So I've mentioned that because that's what happens to wood, whether it's been saturated today. Like I say, I think there was something different about the trees, the wood back then, or some event change in our reality. I can't quite explain everything, I just know what I'm looking at. So everything from here out is new, but I can't go any further without actually showing you this. So some of these sites, like I've just shown you where they've got the holes in them, are built with blocks of wood, branches shoved in between them to keep them safe, stable while it dries, yeah, and then they pull them out, and if you look on the floor near the door, you can see, I think it's pottery, and they will stick them in between it. Yeah, they might even fill it in or keep it as, you know, vents, I'm not sure. But some of these sites are built like this, right? But these won't last, you know, they won't last. Say if there was some sort of cataclysm, these things would just be on mud on the ground. So this one is obviously going into my main playlist, but the other playlist I've got on ancient giant trees, there's about 11 videos in there. When you start looking at this thing from above, then I could easily add this image to one of my next videos. So look, I don't know if these things were carved, at least this one anyway, from what this rock used to be, and I'll just leave it at that, because it's not, this video is not anything to do with that. Many people might not appreciate that word, but I have made videos on showing you how, because they call all these things burial mounds, right? None of them, none at all, were burial mounds in the way that they, you know, tell us that they were, like Mount Kings. Okay, there's just thousands of them all over the place. Look, most of these things are actually domed roofs, what you're looking at, and that's what I'm going to try and start proving to you here. I've got an example for you, and this example is exactly what you're going to start looking at throughout this entire video. And we're also going to look at the progression that archaeologists make when they start uncovering these sites, right? So they will, it's all calcified, solidified roofing, beaming, yeah, and then they will, you know, put it back together, even start cutting it down to make it look like blocked walls and foundations, okay? But it's pretty obvious when you start looking at the older photos when they were excavating these sites that they are indeed what I'm trying to point out here. So this site here is just about how they would find these places. Obviously the door has been dug out, right? Now this example here is one more I've shown you before, and it was in fact, no doubt about it, a partition wall built in the exact same way that we would build a partition wall today, you know, with strips of wood latticed, and then you would plaster over it. And if you look really closely at this, you can see where each join, you know, where it's broke from the vertical lattice pieces of wood that used to run down it, because archaeologists have had their hands on this, yes. So they would have been taken away, they would have fallen away. It was a partition wall, because when you look in the site, I've just shown you, I know it looks like blocks, like people have been carting huge blocks around and build this site, but I want you to look at this roof here, and then I'm going to start zooming in on some of the supposed blocks that's in this site that do in fact look like saturated calcified wood. Now, I'm not saying that everything that I've just shown you is 100% all petrified wood. I'm saying that there's many ways that we construct this stuff today and in the past, and from calcification, metamorphism, everything else that I speak about, it's all just become one piece, okay? It could be concrete, it could be solidified concrete to sandstone, it could have had rebar in it, but you know, simple things like this, these pieces of stone that are going across seemingly to hold this thing together, you would not do that ever, right? Unless it did have some type of rebar in it, but you would, for one thing, you'd be using wood because wood's got play in it, okay? If you try building it with that, it would eventually crack and just be pointless. There'd be just no point in doing it. And by the time that you were building structures like these, you would have learned that by now.